All right, people, I'm going to call this one the $5 bribe. And this will be really quick here. I'm going to make this one a mini. This happened at the place, one of the places, I think it was the place actually, the location where they actually had tried to take me out the first time. It ended up being, I think, that night or the next night. Anyway, and I'm just so disappointed. You know, when I was small, I used to look at the officers as the good guys, and you know, they weren't thug patrol, you know, with badges. They were honest, nice guys, and didn't look like, all of them look like Mr. Clean. And I don't mean to make fun like that. That's the only way I can describe them. You know what I mean? If you know what I mean. Anyway, but I'm just so disappointed in them nowadays because of what's happened to them, and it's in large part to number one, who they are, number two, how they're trained. And that's, a lot of that's necessarily not their fault, but some of it is. But anyway, when I say I'm just very disappointed, you know, a lot of you, and I'll get to the $5 bribe here real quick here. A lot of you, when you, if you're being harassed and stuff like that, even the ones that don't get threatened in any way, they're just, you know, like lurking, gang stalking or whatever. And so we got to call the police or whatever. And there's clearly somebody still there. Like in my case, I mean, what they would do is they would get the word, of course, because they can monitor the 911 calls, right? So they all leave. You know, everybody's swarming around me, pulling into the next stall where people next to you would leave, and they'd pull in and park. You know, just to intimidate you, soften you up, to get you all feared up and ready for, you know, the big whatever they're going to do. So, and people, I've heard complaints was, well, you know, because I mean, you can actually go online and view those. And I've heard some complaints go something like, oh, well, you know, there's people gang stalking me and lurking, and they do that. That's how they try to get to you. And, you know, you guys came out and drove by, but that's all you did, is you just you did a drive-by, and that's it. And then, you know, when we checked later, they said, well, you know, nobody's doing anything, so just had to come back and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, take it from me, you know, as a possible, you know, like a maybe, like a could be scenario. All right, so that's out of the way. Let me put it this way, at least in my case, they knew damn good and well, forgive my language, when who was coming and when who was going, when to leave and when to come back. But, and I hate to say this, people, and this is why I'm disappointed in them, but in just about every, and those of you who know my story, you'll know I stopped counting as those attempts on me reached. I stopped counting at 13. So that's the only official number I can go up to, but it just got to be too much trying to keep track of all of it. But I mean, that's the number I stopped at, so that's officially what I'll say. Anyway, in most cases, and I can't remember a time that they didn't do this. Why am I disappointed in them? I'm coming to the $5 bribe here. Excuse me. It's not because of the $5 bribe. It's because, and yes, I'm saying this because I remember very clearly. It's because not only did the police make an appearance and not do anything. And if you have a good image of your neighborhood police, you better not listen to this next few seconds here. But not only did they make an appearance and not do anything, they participated. They participated in the hit attempts. In other words, they co-opt that whole thing, cooperated with them, with the clandestine entity that was calling the whole, all the shots, which everybody I could see, I mean, it was in layers, and I'll get to that. I'll explain all that in one of the other hit attempts. I got to get done with this one though. But that's why I was mainly disappointed in them, is because they participated. And this was mostly all at night. And this is when when they had already stolen my home and everything that me and my family owned, and had done the grand larceny thing already. And of course, because of that day, I haven't seen my family in almost 6 years now. Anyway, that's the main reason I was disappointed in them, because they participated, and either they would play watchdog, or they would. The two main roles were watchdog as it went on, and they may be parked far up on the hill just watching, and I could see them. One of them even admitted it, because I said something that forced him to answer. And or they'll do something, and this is still under the watchdog role. And then if it involves any type of mobility on the public street, they'll have that officer go up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, and they'll block it off, and they have to going up and down. You can always tell. There was always a way I could tell it was getting ready to happen, because of something that officer did. And I'm going to keep that to myself for the moment. And in the day, the second role would be as a mop-up. After it's over, or the attempt is over, you conveniently have an officer in the area, quote unquote, of course he's in the area, he's right there watching, for the mop-up, which means basically to make sure that any evidence is, not rewarded, or it becomes invisible, or who knows. I don't want to even go to the other place. But that's the two roles. So that's why I was just disappointed so much in watching these guys do this. And even in the day, because it took place mostly at night, in the day, even when the shot callers weren't around in a group effort doing the nighttime hit, in the day they designate somebody to do nothing but just, they would keep tabs on where you were, and they would count on this lead person of theirs that would be designated, which I'm sure they were, as it always is, money involved, paid handsomely, or could possibly one of them, either one of the two, and they just throw the uniform on. I saw I saw one guy at 3 different locations. He must be the busiest guy on earth, because he had 3 different uniforms on. People, please. All right, when it gets to that point, you don't need them. We just don't need them. To pay for them to do that to you? I don't think so. All right, so let's get back to the $5 bribe here. Here's another disappointment for you. I don't know if you've heard of a police officer bribing the person, because it's usually backwards, right? It's usually the other way around, but here you go. At the time, because, and still am, I was aware of the right to travel. Now, the way society is set up, yes, you do kind of need a driver's license, because that's the way they've purposely set it up. So you need it so that, to pick up certain things or get you admission into certain places or whatever. But technically, you don't. And as I comprehend it, in the law and according to the law, in several cases of case law, or several rounds of case law, that's just the way I understand it. And you don't need a registration or insurance or any of that stuff, because you're traveling. You're not, falling under the definition of a driver, which is for commercial hire. Same goes in the difference. See, they play this legalese game with you, so same goes in the difference between, like a motor vehicle and an automobile. Look up the difference in those two, So anyway, at the time, I was so fed up with all the crap, forget my language. I knew my thing was expiring and I didn't care, because I was so mad. And plus at the time too, I was so busy because they were chasing me all over the place. I didn't even have a chance to go down to wherever, especially since they'd taken all my cash as well. They took everything, just complete grand larceny, kidnapping, everything. It was horrible. So anyway, they knew that. They knew this. So one time when I had called, because they were swarming around again, they had answered the call. It was two of them. I'm not going to describe them here, because that could come up later maybe. But anyway, when they were talking to me, they asked to see my license, so I showed them my expired one. And right at that time, right at really opportune times, which at the time, of course, the first 2 or 3 times you get used to it because you're expecting it. But always at the most opportune times, they'll get a call. Always. Somebody start talking to somebody one-on-one, here comes a ring. And then they get briefed, and then their personality changes, and then you've just been told who just called. But anyway, this person gets a call, and then he asks to see my license. So I know exactly who it was that just called. All right, well, here, I didn't say nothing. I just let him sit. And, this person gave it to the partner. So, yeah, looks like you're good to go. Give it to the partner. The partner's like, yeah, looks like you're good to go. This is what he says. Here's your $5 bribe. You know what? I tell you what, if you'll go down there, and there's a real good place down there by so-and-so, if you'll take care of, I think he was trying to tell me one of the taillights was flickering on and off, which was bull, because I checked it later. But there's a real good place just right down here. And if you go take care of that, I'll give you $5 for gas money just to go down there and do that, so you'll be safer. I'll give you $5 to do that. I knew right away what they were doing. I said, you know what, that's very kind of you, but no, thank you. Are you kidding me? I got bribed on top of everything else by a police officer. You guys take care. I'll be back soon.